morning, everyone, and today is Friday, and what a better way to end the working week with the serving of God's Word. And today we'll be looking at the passage in Philippians chapter 2, verses 12 to 18, and we'll read particularly in verse 14 and 15. And as we read it, do everything without complaining or arguing, so that you may become blameless and pure children of God, without fault in the crooked and depraved generation, in which you shine like stars in the universe. So Paul is dealing with an attitude of rebellion and contentiousness among believers in Philippi. And just like the Israelites in the wilderness when they grumbled against Moses, but their real quarrel was with the Lord himself. So we see this as well in churches where there is disunity, there's backbiting, and people cry for fairness, and it's a voice of discontentment. And the ultimate grumbling is not only for some things or people alone, but towards God himself. But Paul instructed them in verse 12 to continue to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. So this does not mean to be saved again, but to continue to do their good works. Keep on studying God's Word, reading His words, and know that Jesus will be returning. So this was a critical time for the churches, and since Paul wasn't there, they needed to do what was right in the sight of the Lord. So when we understand the grace of God's salvation, we work out its implication in our life. We no longer work for significance and approval, but we work from a place which is approved by Jesus because of his perfect righteousness. And if we keep this in mind, we will be experiencing the true joy of serving. And I hope that this will encourage us and to keep serving the Lord with a joy in our hearts. So have a great weekend, and God bless you.
Paul then turns to the Philippians and he urges them to participate in Jesus' example by taking up this same mindset. He says, your life as citizens should be consistent with the good news about the Messiah. So these Christians in Philippi, they were living in a hotbed of Roman patriotism, but their way of life was to be shaped by another king, Jesus. And that might bring persecution, but they are not to be afraid because suffering for being associated with Jesus, it's a way of living out the story of Jesus himself. Which leads Paul into the great poem of chapter 2. It's rich with echoes of Old Testament texts, specifically the story of Adam and his rebellion in Genesis 1 through 3, and the poems about the suffering servant in the book of Isaiah. This poem is worth committing to memory. It is a beautifully condensed version of the gospel story.